Machiavelli understood something fundamental about human nature that most people overlook. Silence is the ultimate weapon in the arsenal of power. Throughout history, the greatest strategists were not those who spoke the loudest, but those who knew exactly when to say nothing. The leader who reveals his thoughts becomes predictable. The general who announces his strategy invites defeat. The negotiator, who cannot hold his tongue, loses before the battle begins. In a world obsessed with noise, with constant communication, with the need to be heard, we have forgotten the ancient wisdom that true power often lies in what remains unsaid. Machiavelli, in his political writings, observed that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This principle applies perfectly to the strategic use of silence. Those who master it create an aura of mystery, of unpredictability that keeps others constantly guessing. Silence is not the absence of power, but its most refined expression. It is not weakness, but calculated strength. Most people cannot tolerate silence. It creates discomfort, tension, a void that they feel compelled to fill with words, with explanations, with justifications. In their desperate attempt to break the silence, they reveal everything: their fears, their desires, their strategies, their weaknesses. While the master of silence simply observes, collecting information, gathering intelligence, learning exactly where to strike when a moment comes in his famous work, The Prince, written as advice for rulers and powerful figures. Machiavelli advised those in positions of power to speak rarely about anything that mattered, because every word can become a liability, every statement a future trap. Those who talk too much give others the rope with which to hang them. Politically, socially, strategically, the art of silence gives you time to think while forcing others to speak without thought. In the Discourses on Livy, Machiavelli notes that the wise leader allows others to come to him with their thoughts, rather than freely offering his own. This is the essence of strategic silence. It is not merely staying quiet, but creating a vacuum that others rush to fill with information you can later use against them. Modern leaders have forgotten this simple truth, bombarding the world with tweets, with statements, with endless commentary. They reveal their hand before the game even begins, while those who truly understand power speak only when it serves a specific purpose, when it advances their position, when it misleads their opponents, or when the silence has done its work. Machiavelli writes that a powerful person must learn to be a great pretender and dissembler. Applied to communication, this means understanding that not every thought deserves expression, not every opinion needs to be voiced, not every emotion requires acknowledgement. Those who speak without purpose, without strategy, without calculation, are like soldiers charging blindly into battle. They may occasionally win through luck, but they will eventually be outmaneuvered by those who wait, observe, and strike only when victory is assured. Silence creates mystique, and humans are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully understand. When someone remains quiet in a discussion, others automatically assume depth. They project wisdom, authority, control onto the silent figure, while simultaneously revealing their own insecurities through nervous chatter. This psychological mechanism gives the silent strategist an immediate advantage before a single word is spoken. Machiavelli understood that information asymmetry is the foundation of power. The one who knows more than they reveal always maintains the upper hand, while those who reveal more than they know surrender their advantage without realizing it. In any negotiation, in any conflict, in any relationship, the party with greater information control holds the power to dictate terms. This is why silence is not just tactically useful, but strategically essential. Silence also creates timing advantage. The person who speaks first often commits to a position that limits their options, while the one who waits can adapt their response to changing circumstances, can observe weaknesses, can identify the optimal moment to act or speak. Machiavelli advised that nothing wastes so much as haste, and this applies doubly to communication. Hasty words reveal intention, expose strategy, and eliminate the element of surprise. Consider how many have destroyed themselves with impulsive statements, with emotional outbursts, with unnecessary revelations that could have been avoided through disciplined silence in the art of war. Machiavelli emphasizes that no enterprise is more likely to succeed than one concealed from the enemy until it is ripe for execution. The same principle applies to communication. The thoughts you keep concealed are weapons that remain sharp. The plans you keep private are surprises waiting to be unleashed. The intentions you mask are advantages your opponent cannot counter. Silence is not merely the absence of speech, but the presence of power. Carefully cultivated, true masters of silence understand that it serves multiple functions simultaneously. It protects information. It creates mystery. It forces others to reveal themselves. It builds anticipation. It maintains flexibility. It demonstrates control, and it establishes dominance, all without a single word being spoken. There is a reason why in ancient courts and power centers, the one who spoke least was often feared most. Silence communicates strength in a way that words rarely can. Anyone can talk, but few can command attention through their mere presence, through the anticipation of their words, through the weight of their silence. The modern world has forgotten this ancient wisdom. In an age of social media, of constant updates, of incessant noise, the person who masters silence immediately stands apart, mysterious, powerful, in control. While others exhaust themselves with endless chatter, the silent observer watches, plans, calculates, and waits. Machiavelli notes that people in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, because everyone can see, but few can touch. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Silence allows you to control what others see, to project strength while concealing weakness, to appear resolute while maintaining flexibility. Every word spoken narrows possibilities, creates commitment, establishes expectations. But silence keeps all doors open, all options available, all strategies viable. Look at how the masses behave in any conversation, in any meeting, in any negotiation. Most people cannot bear even a moment of silence. They rush to fill it with words, with noise, with anything to escape the discomfort that silence creates for them. But the strategist, the Machiavellian thinker, values this discomfort, creates it intentionally, knowing that human nature will compel others to speak, to reveal, to expose themselves while the silent one gathers intelligence. In his writings, Machiavelli observes that the most successful leaders were those who knew how to use the appearances of virtue while acting according to necessity. Silence facilitates this dual approach, allowing one to appear agreeable while inwardly planning according to their true interests. Those who cannot control their words cannot control their destiny. They become predictable, manipulable, transparent, while those who speak only with purpose, only with strategy, only when silence has served its function, maintain control over both the narrative and the outcome. Silence is not merely a defensive tactic, it is an offensive weapon. It is not just about protecting your own thoughts, but about using the discomfort of silence to extract the thoughts of others. The skilled practitioner of silence asks a question, then waits, not rushing to fill the void, but allowing the tension to build until the other person feels compelled to elaborate, to justify, to reveal far more than they initially intended. This technique has been used by the greatest interrogators, negotiators, and leaders throughout history, all understanding intuitively what Machiavelli formalized centuries ago, the power of strategic silence. There is another dimension to this practice that Machiavelli understood implicitly. Silence conveys authority, those who speak only when necessary, who choose their words with care, who allow silence to emphasize their statements, are perceived as commanding, as authoritative, as deserving of attention. In contrast, those who speak constantly, without restraint, who fill every moment with noise, quickly find their words losing value, becoming background noise, easily ignored and dismissed. Machiavelli advised powerful figures to speak rarely, but when they did, to ensure their words carried weight. This principle applies equally to modern power dynamics, where attention has become the scarcest resource in a culture drowning in information. silence also creates the space for observation, for study, for understanding one's opponents. Machiavelli emphasized that anyone seeking influence must be a great student of human nature, must understand the motivations, weaknesses, and desires of those around them. Silence facilitates this study. When you are speaking, you cannot be listening when you are talking. You cannot be observing, but when you are silent, your senses are fully engaged, collecting the data that will later prove decisive. Most people never develop this skill. They are too focused on being heard, on proving their intelligence, on demonstrating their worth through constant verbalization, never realizing that with every unnecessary word, they diminish their power while revealing their insecurities. Machiavelli notes that everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This gap between appearance and reality is widened through the strategic use of silence, which creates space for others to project their assumptions onto you. While you maintain the freedom to act according to your true intentions, the silent individual becomes a mirror, reflecting back the hopes, fears, and expectations of others while revealing nothing of themselves. This is the essence of Machiavellian power dynamics, control over information. A symmetry of knowledge, manipulation through selective revelation. There is a rhythm to power, a timing that Machiavelli understood intuitively. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is not merely about self-control, but about controlling the entire dynamic of interaction, the flow of information, the balance of power, the momentum of events. Those who master this rhythm, who understand when silence serves them better than speech, who recognize the precise moment when words will have maximum impact, possess an advantage that transcends mere tactical consideration. It becomes strategic dominance. Machiavelli warned that nothing is more difficult to handle, more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to manage than to put oneself at the head of introducing new orders. This applies equally to communication. The first to speak, the first to commit, the first to reveal, sets themselves up as a target. While those who wait, who observe, who maintain their silence, gain the advantage of response, of adaptation, of calculated counter. The mind that speaks without restraint is like an open book, easily read, easily predicted, easily manipulated. While the mind that reveals itself selectively, strategically, intentionally remains a mystery, a puzzle that others cannot solve. Silence is patience made visible. It is discipline externalized. It is strategy embodied. Those who cannot remain silent, who feel compelled to speak, to react, to respond, immediately demonstrate a fundamental weakness, a lack of self-mastery that Machiavelli would have recognized immediately as fatal to any serious ambition. Power requires patience, and patience often manifests as silence. Even in negotiation, where words seem essential, silence often proves more effective than speech. The side that can tolerate silence, that can wait, that does not rush to fill the void with concessions, with compromise, with revealing statements, nearly always gains the upper hand. This is why experienced negotiators train themselves to embrace silence, to use it as a tool to force the other side to speak first, to offer more, to reveal their bottom line. Machiavelli understood that in politics, in war, in life, the appearance of strength often matters more than strength itself. Silence projects strength in a way that words rarely can. It communicates confidence, control, calculation, while excessive speech often betrays insecurity, anxiety, desperation. The true Machiavellian understands this intuitively, speaks only when speech serves a specific strategic purpose, and allows silence to do the heavier work of establishing dominance. In a world of noise, the silent figure commands attention. In a room of speakers, the silent observer holds power. In a culture of constant communication, the disciplined practitioner of strategic silence wins every time. And now, after everything we've discussed, ask yourself honestly, do you speak too much? Do you reveal more than necessary? Do you feel silence out of discomfort? Or have you learned the ancient wisdom that Machiavelli understood so clearly that silence is not the absence of power, but its most refined expression?